morning, everyone. Before we start with questions, I want to take a few moments to provide some background on how we got to this point and where we will go from here with our men's basketball program. And I want to emphasize the word our men's basketball program, because I believe this is a group effort for everyone involved from the coach on down. That philosophy, that teamwork mentality applies to all 15 sports here at DePaul. My evaluation of the athletic department at DePaul started last summer when I was in the process of applying for this role as director of athletics. That included men's basketball. And once hired, I analyzed everything from the day-to-day operations to its overall culture. After careful review, I made the decision yesterday to change our men's basketball leadership. As I become acclimated to the city of Chicago, I understand the pride that this community takes in DePaul and our men's basketball team. It's generational. It has no regional boundaries. Whether I'm on the south side, the west side, or the north side, Chicago wants DePaul to be great. I'm dreaming big dreams of being Chicago's team again, and I know you are too. I met with Coach Lato yesterday to discuss the change we'll be making. I know Dave moved the program forward from when he arrived here, and I'm thankful for his commitment to our DEI efforts within our athletics department, the support of our university-wide Vincentian mission, and his mentorship of our student athletes on and off the floor. I believe new leadership will help us take that next step to where we are still playing basketball this time of year instead of watching it on TV. I want that for our student athletes who work hard day in and day out. I want that for our alumni and our fans. And I want that for our university to continue to grow its national exposure through athletics. I know what championship level basketball is all about. And I know that we can build a championship program here at DePaul, and I refuse to believe otherwise. We've reached an agreement with DHR International to assist us in this process of finding the next head coach for DePaul men's basketball. Led by Glenn Sugiyama, DHR will serve as the direct point of contact for any inquiries. The next time I hope you hear from me about our search is at the press conference announcing the new hire. I've heard from several of our men's basketball alums, and I will be reaching out to them as a vital part of this process going forward. We're looking for a leader of young men who develops talent, recruits at a high level, and understands the importance of winning basketball and the role it plays in changing the lives of all the men and women in our athletics department and on our campus and the entire Blue Demon Nation. I also want to send my condolences to the friends and family of Blue Demon fan Mike Grossman, who passed away late last week. I regret that I never had a chance to meet Mike, but I know what this program meant to him, and I know what it means to all our loyal fans. Now I'll open the floor to questions.
Edie, if you have a question, please use the raise hand function and we will call on you. First up, Steve Newhouse from We Are DePaul. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, DeWayne. Do you have a set of criteria that you're looking for in a new coach? And would you consider someone who doesn't have head coaching experience?
I think for DePaul, we have to find the best fit for our program going forward to get us to being back to being Chicago's team. So I'm not going to limit. I think we have to have a broad scope of what we're looking for as a head coach of this program. I think the only minimum requirements is that person has had some level of college coaching experience as an assistant or a head coach at the Division I level. I think with the changing landscape in the NCAA with name, image, likeness, the transfer portal, if you're coming into this and don't even understand at all the NCAA rules and regulations and guidelines, I don't think it's a good place to start from in this job. But outside of that, there are not gonna have to have head coaching experience, anything of that nature. So we're not limiting the search outside of having some level of college coaching experience.
Next question from John Fanta with the Big East. Go ahead.
DeWayne, how much do you involve the student athletes in a process like this?
Well, I think the current student athletes, I've met with the team. I plan on having individual meetings with our current student athletes on our men's basketball team, and obviously they might provide some insight to that. I think it's unfair to put them in the middle of the process and vetting coaches because it becomes about what it means for them individually. We will have an internal group that's focused on more of the student athlete from a broad perspective, just as far as what's important maybe not vetting candidates, but on the front end, what we need to look for. And so when I talk to those students individually, I'm going to ask them, what are they looking for and what's important to them? And I think those are the things that have really helped me from that feedback to make sure that I'm not missing anything. I've been here 6 months. Obviously, I've been around college basketball at a high level for 20 years, but I haven't been to DePaul the whole time. So maybe there's some insight along with my staff and the others that I'll be talking to, along with our current student athletes, that can provide some level of feedback that might be helpful in this search.
The next question from Josh Friedman with WGN. Go ahead, Josh.
Hey, DeWayne. What kind of pressure do you put on yourself to get this decision right, knowing it's your first major one as an AD?
Well, I would hope that it's my first and last, right? That's how you're supposed to get this done. I want to operate at a high level of efficiency. I've been preparing for this my whole life, whether it was getting this job or being in this seat. You're not going to be an athletics director if you're not prepared to be able to deal with this, whether that's for good reason. You might have a coach retire, and you've still got to make a coaching hire. And I think those are important no matter what sport it is. Uniquely in this situation for DePaul, being our only revenue sport, something that impacts all 15 of our sports here and our campus as a whole, it has a lot more at stake. I don't feel the pressure. I mean, that's what I'm getting paid to do. This is a high level part of my job and my expectations of what Dr. Esteban and the Board of Trustees brought me here to get done. And now it's showtime, right? And so I'm hoping that my goal here when I got here in September was what could I do in 6 months to elevate the status of our men's basketball program? Whether that was with Coach Lato and his staff or another coach, to put us in a better situation going forward for the 2021-22 season. So I've been thinking about that. I'm ready and charging forward. I think we have made some strides and some other things that can help the next coach and that staff move forward in a better situation as well. And I will continue to do that, whether that's fundraising, facility upgrades, budgetary concerns. Those are the things that I can impact directly. And so that's why I don't feel the pressure. I think this is what it's all about. I think I do understand the importance level of it. I do. And I understand being charged with a huge responsibility for Blue Demon Nation in every way.
Next question from Lawrence Kramer with the DePaul.
Can't hear you, Lawrence.
All right, we'll go to Steve Greenberg with Chicago Sun-Times.
Hi again, DeWayne. All right, how long does this take? I know you don't know exactly, but as you envision it, what should people expect in years until when you're playing at this time of on the calendar?
So you're saying how long does it take to get it back to the level of prominence?
Yes. How long do you see this taking to where you're playing at this time of year?
Yeah, I think that's going to depend on where we go with the high. I mean, we're going to, I'm not limiting ourselves. I mean, obviously there's some budgetary limits that we have and we can't go after necessarily, we're not going to have the highest paid coach when we get done with this, right? But I think the coach is going to have to dictate that a little bit too. And I think the unknown of the roster standpoint and so I think when we announce a coach, we'll be able to have a better picture of what that timetable is. I'm not dodging it, but I think the goal for me is to hire a coach that I think expedites that process. But really, the process is supposed to benefit us from a long-term standpoint. I'm not looking for a quick fix. I'm not looking for, hey, somebody's coming in with a couple of kids and they'll get us in the tournament next year and then we're starting over clean the year after that and we don't know where we're going. I want somebody that's a program builder that gets to a point where the floor is making the tournament versus being the ceiling. So I think that's a goal for me, someone that will partner with me to get those things done, to be big focal points and leaders of our athletic department where we're going. So from a timetable standpoint, as soon as we can get to the tournament with stability and be there for a long time, that's the goal versus, hey, the quick fix, let's get there as fast as we can and get some momentum. And so I think that's going to have a lot to do with the hire and the situation we have, because by the time I make that announcement, we'll have a better sense of what our roster is. We'll have a better sense of, who that coach is dealing with that. That'll make that more of a realistic approach.
And is NCAA tournament experience, even if it's as an assistant, is that a big part of this? Somebody who's been in March a lot?
No, I think you want somebody that's been around a winning culture and knows it. I think that's part of the reason I'm here. I've seen it, I've been a part of it, and not always been at the top. I've seen it grow. My first year at Kentucky, we were in the NIT. And, in Kentucky, the NIT is like not even being in the conversation at all. And so to see that grow to becoming a championship program over time, it wasn't just a coach. I told you about that early on in some of our other media opportunities. It's not just a coach. There's other things that have to come along with it. And that's a part I have to play in that as well. But I do think that is important. Being foreign to it, this is a challenge, but it's also a great opportunity for someone. I'm hoping to put that person in a position where you're going to design your own basketball practice facility right here in Lincoln Park. I'm trying to put that person in a position where you're going to have legendary status based on the fact of what we have not accomplished in the last so many years. And so I also want someone to realize you're in Chicago, you're in the Big East. This is a basketball school. And that's a unique opportunity that a lot of places can't say. And so there's some selling points, but I want that candidate, that next head coach to understand what they're walking into. So that way from day one, we can hit the ground running.
Up next is Kenny McReynolds. Go ahead, Kenny.
Hi, DeWayne. My question is, what about the assistants, including Kevin Edwards and Billy Garrett? Will all the assistants stay, or did you let the assistants go as well?
Our current men's basketball staff outside of the head coach is still intact. I've talked to those staff members. Obviously, the new head coach will have some say in who they want to maintain as part of the staff. There could be some transition before that happens. And I've already met with a couple of members of our coaching staff and plan to meet with them individually as well. But all the rest of the current men's basketball staff is intact.
One final question. Why use a search firm? You've been around basketball for years. Why not just hire somebody that you know and trust?
Well, I think the search firm, I've worked with Len Suliyama for my search. One, I know he's well connected in the basketball community. But the biggest things that a search firm can do for you is allow you to have a lot of conversations in a short period of time under privacy. Doing that here and being able to capture the opportunity, because in 2 weeks, it could be totally different where you don't have a lot of, we got to get a lot of work done in a short period of time. And I think the search firm is to aid me. I don't need a search firm to tell me who is a really good basketball coach. I don't need a search firm to make a decision for me, but I need a search firm to partner with me to, okay, here's a person that I'm thinking about. I need you to get a report on and vet that candidate, know what their contract status is, see if their interest level's there before I waste my time and end up talking to that individual. I might need a search firm to provide me a few more candidates that I'm not thinking about that maybe I need to talk to. And it plays an important role. I'm not saying, going forward, you got some people against it. It will be the hire of between myself, Dr. Esteban, and our board of trustee level individuals that we have to involve to be in support of it. But Dr. Esteban is in full support of me going in and making this hire, and that's the responsibility of this position. So the search firm is named, and we will partner together to get this done. And I'm telling you, just actually being through that process with other ones, the ease of the process is better than using a search firm, in my opinion.
Next question with Andy Seligman with the AP.
Yeah, hi, DeWayne. Have you reached out to Kenny Payne, or if not, do you plan to?
I haven't talked to any coaches yet. I hope to start that process today. So if there are any coaches out there that think they're too far gone and maybe this is already done, it's not. I haven't talked to any coaching candidate yet. And so I'm looking forward to maybe starting that process today after this press conference when I meet with DHR for the first time as a partner in this search. And so I haven't offered, obviously, if I haven't talked to anybody at this point yet. So.
Is he somebody that's on your radar?
At this time, I'm not going to comment on any candidates at this point because, like I said, we haven't even shared a list. We haven't even decided who we're going to talk to or who's available. But we'll hopefully get that process started soon. I think the world of Kenny. We worked together for several years at Kentucky. But the good thing about me, in my past 20 years, I've worked with so many coaches, whether it's at the SEC, being the media contact for men's basketball, assistants on those staffs, and having relationships. If you think every person I know is a candidate, we got a pretty big pool right here. So those will be factors because you get a head start on who you know and what they're all about and who they are as a person. But there's a lot of other factors that determine what direction we'll go in with this search.
Thanks.
Next question from Paul Banks. Go ahead, Paul.
Hi, DeWayne. I'm kind of jumping off that a little bit. I was going to ask you, thinking back to your time at Kentucky, kind of what you learned there, traits, things you might be looking for in a coach, things that kind of what you accomplished there and what you'd like to replicate here.
I think I learned a lot from my time at Kentucky. I think the one thing I learned, even in my communication role before I became the administrator for basketball, is that you have to put the players first. I think our student athletes and our student first mentality that we have here at DePaul is important. And I think if you really care about young people, you'll make the right decisions. If you put them first in your thoughts, you'll have a winning culture, you'll have a winning program. And that's no knock about what we had in the past, but I want somebody that really cares about mentoring young men by providing that winning experience and culture that'll help them succeed in life. So we can be great at every little thing and, community service, and those are the things that will always be what we're all about. But that winning culture is something that's infectious. It's something that provides you to be a winner in life. And I think we got to have what I've learned about young people in Kentucky, having a new roster every year, it's a new turnover every year. So I've been through these new starts over and over, is that they want to be disciplined. They want structure. They want to be, developed and become the best version of themselves. And so I think that's the thing I want to attach myself with, because I think that's an important piece of our program. It's somebody that understands that it's bigger than just basketball, but understands that winning part of basketball and that winning culture is a big part of their life going forward too.
Okay, we'll go back to Lawrence Kramer. Go ahead, Lawrence.
Hey, DeWayne, could you, talk about when it comes to finding a new head coach, is it important that they have some experience recruiting in Chicago and landing Chicago recruits if you're going to hire a new head coach?
I don't think that's necessarily a direct tie. Because defining that, Lawrence, it's more, to me, if you're a coach I would think to be a candidate for this job, you better have connections to Chicago recruiting, period. Whether you're from here or you sign kids from Chicago or not, you're not a high-level recruiter if you're not recruiting Chicago, in my opinion. And so I would hope that our short list are all people that have a connection in Chicago, because the amount of talent we have here in this city, year in and year out, I've seen that whether I was at Kentucky or elsewhere, and the kids that come out of this city that go to other Division I programs and make huge impacts, whether that's this year or the past years. And so sometimes you might not realize who has connections and ties to Chicago, but I wouldn't think you're much of a high-level recruiter if Chicago's not on your list of places that you look for talent.
We'll go back to John Fanta. Go ahead, John.
DeWayne, I've just found it interesting what you said about the opportunity to have that legendary status because of the fact that it is in the past, but the program has been through a period of darkness. I guess the question I have for you is, what do you hope is the difference that you've already made in your leadership position that you can sell to this head coaching candidate?
Well, that's a good question. And like I told you when I first got here, I thought that was the charge. What's my focus? We're in the middle of a pandemic. We're not even sure at that time when I first got here if we were even going to play basketball. And so my focus was, by the time we get to March, what can I add to make this a more attractive place for our current coach and staff and student athletes? And if we end up having to make a change, that's going to be even more important on what it looks like for somebody to even want to step forward and lead this program going forward. And so the things that I felt like I've impacted the most is hopefully my energy is felt from, and that includes you, that I'm selling to somebody that want to work with me. I've been around basketball my whole life. I'm a baseball player that loves basketball, right? So, it's my 21st year at the highest level of basketball, from my SEC days to my Kentucky days and now DePaul. I think the other things is I've been able to connect our campus community to understanding the role that our athletic department plays in the overall success of DePaul University, in particular men's basketball being that front porch of our athletic department. I I think that's a change for us, for people to not just athletics talking about it, not just our alums or supporters, but our campus community as well. And I've got them understanding and wanting this too. I think the other piece is our facilities. You know, we started a feasibility study for our men and women's basketball practice facility that we hope can be right here in Lincoln Park, right across the street. And those are some things that we want to get going, and I hope to be able to share some updates on that with our candidates as we go through this search. And I think from those things, our budget constraints, trying to fundraise to kind of fill the gaps so that we can do things like, you know, play a more challenging schedule and be able to go to, you know, multi-team events and be able to, you know, recruit travel and team travel, be at a different standpoint than we are now. Those are the impacts that I was trying to make within 6 months. Some of those things are in place and some of those things are almost finalized here in the near future. So I think we're in a better spot. I think just from the initial outreach of some interest, I feel good that we can find the next coach for DePaul within a short period of time. You know, I'm hoping, I talk to my staff and our students. I asked them to give me 30 days. You know, be patient. Give me 30 days to find the next coach. I hope it didn't take that long. I'm trying, you know, we might find somebody this weekend, right? Get ready to do it and let's sign this up. But I asked them to give me 30 days. You know, April 15th, when you think about it, we started spring signing period. It's a kind of a earmark that's important to have things in place to know what you're doing from the spring recruiting period is important. And so I'd be very disappointed if you don't have a coach in place by then. But that's not the timetable I'm working on. If you've been around me, you know, you're probably trying to slow me down more than trying to speed me up. And so we hope to find that connection quickly, start having conversations in the next few days right away before tournaments start, just in case some people are competing right now, and then start expediting this process pretty quickly.
Thank you.
Steve Newhouse with a follow-up question. Go ahead, Steve.
DeWayne, you mentioned the coaching staff earlier. Have you named an interim coach?
Yes, pleased to announce that Tim Anderson has graciously accepted the role of interim head coach, and he is committed to us to stick through this coaching process, this hiring process. And that was important for some stability to know what we're doing as far as a point of contact for me and the staff, what's going on with our student athletes. And that's something that Tim didn't have to do. And he's got options, obviously, for him to commit through this search, and then we'll see what the future holds going forward based on what the direction we go with our hire. But Tim Anderson will be our interim head coach.
Thanks.
Steve Greenberg, go ahead.
DeWayne, Loyola, of course, is back in the tournament. Illinois is the #1 seed. Is it important to you how DePaul is viewed relative to the other nearby programs, and is sort of winning the city, being the best team locally, a marching order that you want to give to whoever the coach is?
Hopefully in a short period of time, Steve, we have more conversations. You realize I'm dreaming bigger than that. I want to be relevant. I want people worried about us, not just in Chicago or this state or this region, but nationally. And so if we take care of our business and we strive for those type of goals, Chicago will take care of itself. There's no disrespect to the other Chicago schools, but we have a unique opportunity here. I want people to fear what we're doing. And that's the way we're going about this. And whoever is this next coach, him or her will be along my side, and we will go get this done. And I think a lot of fundraising efforts are going on, a lot of support. I think there's a lot of things here that give us a unique opportunity to make a big step post-pandemic versus trickling along. And so I'm not, like I told you before, I want to get back to being Chicago's team. That is important for us here. We need to re-engage with this community. We need to be packing out Wintrust Arena on a regular basis. And we need that support. But in that, we want to be able to expand these borders for our university, whether that's recruiting prospective student athletes or just prospective students, more than just in our region, but nationally, which means that we have that outreach as well from a recruiting standpoint. That's my goal.
Have you gotten the sense from people around you, from alumni, fans, whomever, that Loyola's recent success has sort of heightened their, desire to see DePaul come along quickly and all that, that there's a sense of, competition or something there?
I haven't heard that directly. I've heard a lot of people talking to me about Loyola. But I mean, I understand that, I'm still getting my MBA right now. And one of the classes I just took was data analytics. And for my class, I did a presentation that I used for our board here to talk about the impact that making NCAA runs on a normal basis or Sweet 16s and Final Fours, what that does for a university. And obviously the Loyola case from the Final Four run, you see what that does. But there's really good data of what it can do for just being an NCAA tournament team and just getting to the Sweet 16. And with where higher education is right now and the declining net revenues from enrollment, this is a unique opportunity for DePaul University too. How do we increase applications and enrollment in a time like this? Men's basketball at DePaul might be the way. Because if more people know about our school, more people click on our website and apply to go to school here. And think about that impact and the outreach that could actually bring to the table. And so I think maybe Loyola shows the path from a Final Four run. And hopefully give them to success as a fellow Chicago team this year. But I'm thinking bigger than that. And that's an opportunity for us that we hope to get to that conversation where we look back and we talk about, this day was the first step on leading us to that Final Four. I believe that can happen here. I wouldn't have came here if not. I was at Kentucky with a legitimate chance to win every year going into it in the preseason. That's not easy. I didn't take it for granted. So if I was going to take that step to come to DePaul, I had to know we had that level of support. I had to know that I wasn't the only one that was dreaming big. And from our administration with Dr. Esteban, Steve Stout, our board of trustees with Gerald Beeson, Peter Argianis, Mike Scudder, we've had the support. People want to dream big with me. And I found out quickly that our alums, our supporters, our staff, they already had those thoughts. I was just joining in with them. I wasn't pulling them along. And I think that's the thing that's a unique opportunity here. Now I'm trying to find that coach that's thinking that same way. Hey, this is where it is right now, but can you imagine DePaul being at this level next? And I think that's the link I'm looking for.
All right, do we have any other questions? If so, use the raise hand function. All right, I think that'll do it. Thanks, DeWayne. Thanks, everyone. And as soon as we have more updates, we'll be.
One thing I want to say before, first of all, thank you guys for joining us. I also want to mention that DePaul Athletics will host a women's leadership panel today at noon, so following this, in celebration of Women's History Month. And hope you join, and a link will be sent to attend, will be posted on our Facebook shortly. So we have a women's leadership panel today. It's a great group. Val Ackerman is part of it as well. And so I hope you tune in on Facebook. And thank you guys for your time today.
Thanks, everyone.